Aristotle added to this, and he said, a person who has their health has 1,000 wishes. A person who does not has but only one wish. So for us to be truly thriving and to really live a healthy life, it's not just what we learn, it's also what we unlearn. And in the words of one of my favorite teachers who taught me long ago in a galaxy far away, you must unlearn what you have learned. Did you get the message? Okay. So let's begin by looking at the framework of what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to share with you briefly what we call the epidemiological statistic, or the framework. Then I'm going to share the context for health, how some of the research impacts our sleep, and some strategies and actions about our sleep that we can take, and how you can maintain a sustainable lifestyle change so it can stick. So if we look at the statistics, here's what we show. This is back from 2013. And we show geographically in the United States that the greatest concentration of sleep deprivation is in this part of the United States. This is the highest concentration of people less than 7 hours of sleep, ages 18 or higher. It just got updated by the CDC. So what we see in 2020, that the pattern remains very much the same, and when it's age adjusted, we can see this rather dramatically, that we see most of the areas of the United States with sleep deprivation out here. There's a little bit out in this area as well, but that's what we see. Does this correlate to chronic disease? Well, if we look at the stats from the CDC, we see that the number one killer of Americans is still heart disease. Number two is cancer, injury, COVID-19 got up there, stroke, chronic lower respiratory diseases, Alzheimer's, diabetes, kidney disease, and liver disease. Those are the major leading causes of death. Is there a pattern of association between sleep deprivation and chronic disease? It's interesting. So this is part of my research. So when we look at the rate of heart attacks and death due to cardiovascular mortality, what we see is the same concentrated distribution in the southeast portion of the United States. When we look at cancer, we see the same distribution of cancer mortality in the southeast portion of the United States. When we look at stroke death rates, we can see that it's definitely concentrated in a similar geographic region. When we look at Alzheimer's, we see this band through this entire area, so it's very similar. When we look at diabetes, we see also this very similar concentration in this portion of the United States. And the 10 states with the lowest life expectancy in the entire United States, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, and West Virginia, in case you forgot your geography. But those 10 states happen to be geographically next to each other. Statistically, should that be the case? No. There's definitely something going on. So if we look from a correlation perspective, what's the correlation of chronic disease, sleep deprivation, and lifestyle? So if we look at diet, is there a correlation between diet and chronic disease? Well, I found this one graph that really was rather interesting, because we know that processed foods constitute 63% of the American diet. 63%! That's huge. That's huge. In the blue zones, there's no processed foods, zero. So it's rather alarming to see the difference. So what's the distribution of one very popular processed food? One of the most popular. You'll see it in every town in the United States. I've traveled all over the country. Kentucky. It comes from Kentucky. What's that product? Kentucky Fried Chicken. Here's the distribution of Kentucky Fried Chicken consumption in the United States. Isn't that an interesting correlation? What about physical inactivity? We now have more research on sedentary lifestyle than ever before and how that affects our health. Here's the graphic from the CDC on the concentration of sedentary lifestyle in blue. Wow, matches up. How about stress? Do you think stress affects our lifestyle and longevity? We have data on this. Here's the concentration of extreme stress, frequent mental distress. And you can see it's through the southeast portion of the United States and Fresno. And then, do relationships make a difference in terms of our life and longevity? The answer is absolutely yes. It's very interesting. One aspect of this is the divorce rates in the United States, again, concentrated in the southeast portion of the United States. We show that if you are widowed, divorced, or single, you will actually have a shorter lifespan. So that's really the case. So lifestyle matters. It matters. It really does. And Dr. Wayne Dysinger, one of the founders of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, he said that the lifestyle medicine is the foundation of healthcare because 80% of healthcare is chronic disease. 80% of our dollars and tax dollars to take care of health in the United States go towards chronic disease. 80%. 80% of chronic disease is caused by lifestyle. We say in lifestyle medicine, genetics loads the gun. Genetics is 20%. Genetics loads the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. Now, if the disease is caused by lifestyle, the foundation ought to be a lifestyle treatment. Doesn't that make sense? I think so. And that's what lifestyle medicine is all about. So to understand the context for health, we have to go back to my dear professor at California Lutheran University, Dr. Michael Kalitsky, a brilliant professor in biological sciences. And one day, it was a comparative anatomy and physiology class, and he said, remember that all of life is in one of two states at any given moment. Either it is surviving or it is thriving, and that's all there is. And when he said this, it kind of shocked me. Now, I started to understand this 3 years later. It took me a long time to get this. How could this be? But 3 years later, I'm in medical school at UC Davis taking a class in embryology, which is the study of the embryonic period of human development, how we all start off. Fascinating. How many here have taken a class in embryology? Anybody? Anybody? Most people, most of the time, nobody has. So early on in our development, we all look like this, a ball of cells. You can't tell them apart. They're indistinguishable. But eventually, this ball of cells replicates more and more cells and gets to a point where it gets big enough that it starts to fold inward on itself. And it folds inward and forms a tube of cells wrapped around the rest of the ball. This tube of cells will become the first organ system of the body to become distinguishable and operational. Now, a lot of people think it's the gut or the umbilical cord or the heart. No. It is what we call the neural tube. The neural tube gives rise to what we call the limbic brain, the central portions of your brain, your hippocampus, your hypothalamus, your pituitary, and all of your spinal cord. And it's all connected. What the professor said next really got my attention because he said this becomes the electrical system of the human body. It's the first system to go in. It's really beautifully designed. It's amazing. Now, just like any electrical system, it's got a positive current and a negative current. Now, the positive current is referred to as the parasympathetic branch of the central nervous system. The negative current is the sympathetic branch of the central nervous system. Now, here's how this works. Once the system is turned on, we are operating either in the parasympathetic state or in the sympathetic state at any given moment. We can go back and forth between the two, but we do not operate both at the same time. So it's one or the other. And at that moment, I understood something profound. Dr. Kalitsky's quote, that all of life is either surviving in the sympathetic state or thriving in the parasympathetic state, and that's all there is. This is very important to understand when it comes to the foundation of health. Very important. When we look at this, when we're in the sympathetic state, for whatever reason, physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually, we are reacting to stress of any kind, and we're in the state of survival. There is a whole cascade of neurotransmitters, all kinds of hormones, everything that goes through the body when we're in the sympathetic state. Our reactions can be fight, flight, freeze, and fold, but there's more to that because it's even as subtle as a perceived threat. Oh no, I have to deal with Pedro in the morning. Oh no. That's enough to put me in the sympathetic state. Now, here's what we show in the research. That all chronic disease is the same disease. It just has different faces based on our own individual genetic expression. It's all the same disease. It's being in the state of dis-ease far too much, far too often, and far too long. Far too much, far too often, far too long. The human body is not designed to be in the sympathetic state. In fact, no animal is designed to be in the sympathetic state continually. It's not designed for that. If we look on all the face of the animals of the face of the earth, all the animals on the face of the planet predominantly do not operate in the sympathetic state most of the time. Very rarely do they. So what keeps us in the sympathetic state, especially here in the United States? Dr. Stephen Loam, one of my friends, is a cardiologist, and he says there are 5 major factors that keep us sick. One is just our mental state, being in the sympathetic state itself. So when we're in the sympathetic state, our brain is wired to conserve energy, avoid pain, and seek pleasure. The American way. You've had a hard day at work. You come home, you're tired, you're exhausted. You have no interest in cooking a healthy meal. And so what do? You call Domino's. And they come with the pizza and the soda, and you sit down on the couch and enjoy Netflix for the next 4 hours. That's the American way. And when we're in the sympathetic state, our brain is wired to seek out fat, salt, and sugar. Now, another thing that keeps us sick is our family relationships and pattern of behaviors that we learn from our families. A lot of people say, everybody in my family has diabetes, I'm doomed to get it. No, that's not the case at all. No, you learned how to eat and live how the rest of your family that has diabetes lives, and you follow the same example. It's lifestyle. Another thing that keeps us sick is the food industry. Do you think that Wendy's and McDonald's truly have your health as their number one priority? Don't. Another thing that keeps us sick is the United States government. The whole system is not designed to promote health, is it? It's designed to promote commerce. It's a capitalistic society. We're the only significant industrialized country that does not have universal health care. The only one. And another thing that keeps us sick is the medical system itself. Now, I can say this having been inside the belly of the beast, because there is a tremendous union between the medical community and the pharmaceutical community. Absolutely the case. Now, these are the things that keep us sick. Lifestyle medicine is about being able to help you swing the pendulum from being predominantly sympathetic so much of the time and swing the pendulum so that you can become predominantly parasympathetic most of the time, like all the other animals on the face of the planet. And this is where we start to thrive and enjoy peace and harmony. We restore our body to good health, and we're able to heal. And the body will heal itself if we give it the right conditions. We recognize in lifestyle medicine that we're trying to promote well-being, which is grounded in the wisdom of the ages. There are four major factors to our well-being. The four fundamental human energies are physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual energies. These four energies need to be in balance. They all affect each other. And so to do that, we have to practice a wholehearted, complete approach, a comprehensive approach to improve our health and well-being. It's not just one thing. So there are so many teachings about what influences our central nervous system state. I teach a class called The 5 Secrets to Living a Thriving, Healthy, Happy Life. So here's the nutshell of it. What we show from the wisdom of the ages is that, number one, the most significant factor that affects our central nervous system state are the thoughts that we think. Proverbs 23:9, as he thinks in his heart, so is he. As he thinks. So our thoughts absolutely become things, and that really makes a difference in the quality of our life. Buddha said, all that we think, we become. So it's about understanding that. Not only that, it's the words that we speak. And if we're complaining or gossiping or being cynical, critical, and skeptical, well, guess what? We're in the sympathetic state. So we have to be conscious of saying positive, uplifting, loving, kind, compassionate words, not only to others, but also to ourselves. And third, consistent with that, it's going to be the actions that we take. Actions speak louder than words. So it's about living a life of integrity. Fourth is the company we keep. We show now from the research, it's so profound, that the quality of your relationships, positive, supportive relationships, absolutely correlates with longevity. Absolutely does. And the fifth, and this is the one that kind of drives people a little batty sometimes, but it's true. The food that we eat absolutely affects our central nervous system. Did you know that? Yes, it does. Whatever you put in your mouth is either going to stimulate a sympathetic response or a parasympathetic response. So the next time you go to a social gathering, ask the person who's serving the food, will this put me in the sympathetic or the parasympathetic? Go ahead, ask them. Ask them. Ask them. You want to find out. Now, in lifestyle medicine, I added 2 other areas besides the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. So these are the areas that I focus on with every single person. That's hydration, nutrition, physical activity, risky substance reduction, sleep, emotional well-being and stress management, healthy relationships, and happiness. So these are really profound areas, and all of it matters. So some of the statistics about sleep, what we show is that average person sleeps about 6 hours and 57 minutes. It's actually been going down since then. 20% average less than 6 hours of sleep per night. 37% of young adults sleep less than 7 hours, and that's been going up lately. 60 million people report difficulty with sleeping. 10%, only 10% seek treatment, only 10%. There is something that is very prevalent in the workplace called presenteeism. That means people are there, but the lights are not on, okay? And then disability is profound because we have all kinds of consequences from lack of sleep, all kinds. So there's many side effects from missing sleep, many, all kinds. I'm not going to even go through this whole list, but it absolutely affects your brain, your heart, your reaction time, your muscles, your immune system. Everything gets affected negatively, everything. And it could be subtle. This correlates with many issues. And the vicious cycle that people sometimes experience for themselves is this graphic up here. I can't sleep because I feel sick, and I feel sick because I can't sleep. That's the vicious cycle that a lot of people get into, and I've seen it far too many times. So when we have a lack of sleep, it correlates with all of these issues: BMI, obesity, mortality, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, mental stress, and disorders. It becomes this vicious cycle. And some people, that's the number one place that they need to start, is to improve their sleep. It really is important. When it comes to chronic disease, what we show is that for every chronic disease, we have this graphic of the relative risk of mortality, relative risk of disease. So this is the graphic for type 2 diabetes. And so what we show, if you have too little sleep or too much sleep, you'll have increased risk of developing diabetes. This is the sweet spot, about 7 to 8 hours of sleep. That is the sweet spot for every single chronic disease. It doesn't matter. They all have the same graphs. So what we are looking to be able to do is realize that we need to restore our bodies with sleep. We need enough sleep. And how many of you have dogs or cats? They sleep all the time, don't they? It seems like it, 16 hours a day. So they're constantly doing that. So that's why I love this picture. We need 7 to 8 hours of sleep as adults to detox our brain. It absolutely is necessary. Water and sleep are important for our vitality, absolutely. In our deep sleep, especially the first part of our sleep, we need that deep sleep in order to consolidate our memories. And then sleep apnea. Anybody have sleep apnea on a CPAP machine? All right, here's the data. All right, sleep apnea increases the risk of Alzheimer's by 70%. That's alarming. When I saw that data, that really shocked me. That's alarming. So I'm going to present some information from two very notable sleep scientists. So one of them is Dr. Matthew Walker. He wrote this profound book, wonderful book, called Why We Sleep. Excellent, excellent book. Unlocking the Power of Sleep and Dreams. Really great. And he's over in Berkeley now, so he's up there. Here's to show you a dramatic example of what happens when we lose just 1 hour of sleep, which just happened. Right? It just happened. We sprung forward and we lost an hour of sleep. You want to know the data on this? It's shocking. Here's what we show. In 1.6 billion people in 70 countries around the world, 2 times a year, here's what we see. When we spring forward like we just did to daylight savings time, we see the next day a 24% increase in heart attacks. The next day. That's shocking. One of my friends is an emergency room physician at UC Davis. He says they staff accordingly because they see it all the time. In addition to that, increased car crashes and suicides. In the fall, when we fall back, we regain that hour. We see a 21% decrease in heart attacks the following day. Rather alarming. That's the difference just 1 hour makes. Wow. Wow. Now we have other research studies, lots of research studies. How many of you crammed for your tests in college? Here's what we show. When you get sleep, your learning is very, very high. When you get no sleep and you do an all-nighter, you get 40% less learning. 40% less. Wow. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. Now, also, when you don't get sleep, when you're doing that all-nighter, your hippocampus, which is where you generate new brain cells, and a lot of the emotional centers are in the hippocampus. There's many things in the hippocampus that happen. So, and where we produce dopamine and serotonin and a lot of other things. So when you sleep, you have tremendous activity, but when you have no sleep, you actually have decreased brain activity in the hippocampus. That's not good. Another thing that happens, all of us, all the time, we're always producing new cancer cells. Always. That's happening. It's a normal experience for all of us. because of stress. Anytime we're in a state of stress, our body's going to produce some cells that are cancer cells. And in a healthy person, there are what we call natural killer cells that go around and they clean those up. That's part of the immune system. Now, when we get sleep and our immune system is strong, those killer cells function very, very well. And they go around and they attack all those killer cells and they knock them out. But when we lose just 4 hours of sleep, we have a 70% decrease in the activity of the natural killer cells. So a lack of sleep also correlates with increased risk of cancer. Another thing that happens in terms of all chronic disease, in terms of genetic expression, what we show is that we have just 6 hours of sleep for 1 week. And what we see is over 700 genes getting turned on, many of which decrease immune function and many of which increase promote tumors, promote inflammation, and cardiovascular disease. That's just 6 hours of sleep for 1 week. So we all need to have sufficient sleep. Here's what we show from the leading experts. What we show is that if you're a young adult, 18 to 25, you need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. If you're an adult, 26 to 64, you need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And if you're older than 65, you need at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. So that's the data. Now, another one of the fabulous experts that I got to listen to at the American College of Lifestyle Medicine Conference, Dr. Dedia, and he talked about how the ultimate lifestyle medicine prescription is sleep, because everything else functions only when we get enough sleep. Makes sense? So you can't really improve your nutrition or your exercise or your happiness and joy unless you have enough sleep. So we need to have enough sleep. It really is the foundation. So here are his top 10 functions of sleep. Number 10 is to restore the body. A cool brain and the body really helps to be restored. Reset and regulate all the ion channels for all the transmission of energy in the nervous system. Repair, anti-inflammatory, heart health, brain health, memory, improve our mood, joy, and number 1, energy. How many of you would like to have more energy in your life? More energy? Yeah, very good. Okay, so it is not normal, Dr. Dedia says, it is not normal to fall asleep if you're reading quietly in the afternoon. It's not normal. It is not normal to drift off at an afternoon meeting. Not normal. And it's not normal to fall asleep watching TV in the early evenings. It's not normal. And it's not normal to sleep when you're a passenger in the car. Not normal. And it's not normal to doze off while waiting at red lights or stop signs. Not normal. You know who you are. Now, if somebody comes up to you and tells you, I do not need sleep, just listen. Just be curious. All right? I'm fine with just 4 to 5 hours of sleep. Sure. Yeah. Yes, I sleep. I get 10 or more hours of sleep every single night. Right. Okay, I catch up on sleep on the weekends. Oh, I've heard that so many times. And then, I'm a great sleeper. I can sleep anytime, anywhere. That's not normal either. So these are things to look out for. If you notice yourself in this, be paying attention. Sleep is one of those very interesting things because what we do during the day can vary widely. But when we sleep, all of us, there are patterns to what goes on in our brain while we sleep. There are very definite patterns. So there's stages of what we do. There are activities that our brain goes through while we're asleep. So here are the 4 major stages of what happens every time we sleep in a healthy experience of sleep. So stage one is where we experience light or transitional sleep. You're just starting to drift off into sleep and getting drowsy. That's stage 1, very light sleep. Now, stage 2 is what we call stable sleep. And this is where the brain blocks out all the senses. How many of you have ever tried to wake up a teenager and they were dead to the world? How many of you have ever tried to do that, right? Yeah, they were in stage 2. They were knocked out. You couldn't wake them up. That's what happens. Now, we move from that to stage 3, and that's deep sleep. Now, deep sleep doesn't mean you're knocked out. What happens, there's a lot of things going on in deep sleep. So there's a lot of growth hormone for repair being expressed that allows our body to actually clean up and repair itself. And that's really important. And then we move to REM sleep, or rapid eye movement. Now, if you've seen dogs while they're sleeping, you see them running, and you can hear them. Yeah, that's REM sleep. Now, we do it too, but most of us don't bark while we're sleeping, okay? So the thing is, we go through that as well. So that's rapid eye movement. There's a lot of things happening at the subconscious level in our sleep. It's very active. Now, there are different cycles. These 4 cycles we go through, and sometimes there's different patterns for each of us, but we can actually measure this. It's really interesting. Now, stage 1, transitional sleep, normal range is about 5%. Now, stage 2, which is where we start to get into that where we're knocked out, that's typically about 50 to 55% of our sleep. Now, stage 3, which is deep sleep, we typically spend about 15 to 25% of our time in deep sleep. And then REM is dream sleep. That's where we're very actively dreaming, and that's another 15 to 25%. It can vary based on you, your lifestyle, and everything that's going on. But we can start to see patterns, and we can actually measure this. So it's rather fascinating. Typically what happens is that in the first part of our sleep, we're doing what's called physical repair. Our body is resting and doing restoration in the first half of our sleep. That's that deep sleep. And then the second part of our sleep is where we do the emotional clearing and problem solving, which we would call the dream sleep. That's where we're in that REM state and we're processing things. How many of you have ever had an epiphany at like 4 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning, and you got this brilliant idea and you woke up? That's dream sleep. That's your subconscious processing and coming up with a great idea. Have a pen and paper by your nightstand so you can actually capture those. Those ideas are brilliant, so you want those. Now, how do we set ourselves up to have the best sleep possible? There's lots of habits, lots of details to this. So Dr. Dedia gives us a lot of tips, and you're going to hear some of these again and again. Okay, so now, your best 24 hours for setting up your best sleep starts first thing in the morning. First thing in the morning. One of the things I heard from Dr. Stephen Covey many, many years ago, he said, go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time. That's the first order of business he had with every single one of his clients. Every single one. First assignment. Go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time. So we're going to start with waking up. Waking up, make sure you wake up at the same time, or very close to that, within 30 minutes. Try to get morning sunlight. It's really great to be able to do that. If you can, get up a little bit before dawn, and then get outside so you can actually experience that golden light of the sunrise. It's a fantastic thing to help your body and your brain. It really sets you up. Breakfast is absolutely one of the most important meals of the day. It sets you up. You've been in a fast. Break the fast of sleeping. So you need to have some food. In fact, the most important thing before you actually go to breakfast is rehydrate. It's not on this graphic, but I'm going to tell you right now, before you even have breakfast, hydrate your body first and foremost, and then have breakfast. Make sure you drink plenty of water, at least 16 ounces of water first thing in the morning. I drink 32, so have plenty of water. Now, the next 5 hours of the day, 4 or 5 hours of the day, what you want to do, if you drink coffee, and I know a lot of you do, okay, time it. You want to time it. You don't want to have it late in the day. That'll keep you up. So if you're going to have your caffeine, have it after you have breakfast, not before. No, have it after. Okay, have some food in your stomach. That'll be much better. Now, get to know your circadian rhythm. How do you function best? Some of you are morning people, some of you are evening people, some of you are night people. You know who you are. Everybody's a little bit different in terms of your best way of operating. Know what works for you. And if you need to take naps, by all means, do so. That's okay. Get daily physical activity. It's best earlier in the day. If you can time your physical activity, going out for walks or exercise earlier in the day, it's better results and better on your sleep. The next part of the cycle is your evening. So in the evening, what Dr. Dedia suggests is to clear your mind. Don't take your work home with you. That's real important. Leave it aside. Now, if you have alcohol, time it. I'll talk more about alcohol later, but you want to time it. You don't want to have it late. One of the things that we show in alcohol, it leads to night tremors in many people. I've seen this many times. And then you want to practice relaxation. Try to establish a sleep routine. I'm going to give you lots of information in the email. Now, the night. It's so important that you not try to fight your sleepiness. If you feel sleepy, go to bed. Go to bed. Don't fight it. Your body's telling you it's time to go to sleep. If you start yawning every 30 seconds, it's time to go to bed. So don't fight it. Have a soothing ritual, something that you do that puts you in a state of relaxation, whatever it is, and there are many things we're going to talk about. A darker room is better. It really works a lot, and if it's cooler, also that helps. Have warm blankets, that's fine, but cool off the temperature in the room. Now, late night, while you're asleep, practice stillness. The bedroom should only be for intimacy and sleep. That's it. No TV in the bedroom. Get rid of the TV that's in the bedroom. No more. No phones, no laptops, no computers in the bedroom. No, get rid of all that. And then if you get awake, if you wake up for some reason, and if you're awake for more than 20 minutes, the recommendation is to get up out of bed, go do something relaxing. Do something. So Dr. Dedia talks about that the 3 keys to sleep are the quantity of sleep, that you have a consistent quantity, that you improve over time the quality of your sleep, and that you actually manage your time, your clock. So you manage your time and your rhythm of all your activities over the course of your entire day. So many of the experts talk about how your bedroom is only for sleep and intimacy, but the number one, and I'm going to drive this home over and over again, is a regular schedule. So many people have an irregular schedule. They're very erratic with their schedule. They're up late watching Johnny Carson's a long time retired. They're watching sports, they're watching YouTube videos, and they're watching it till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. No, don't do that. Have a regular schedule. Get warmer before bedtime, either with a bath or shower, or socks. Non-caffeine tea is good. Increase your daytime exposure. We talked about that. Increase your physical activity. And then power naps are okay. And what we recommend in the research is keep it to 30 minutes or less. So keep it short. Now, here's one of the tips that I have come across so much of the time in many of my clients is make sure you have a good quality bed. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people and I ask them the question, how old is your bed? And they say 15 years. I think it's time for a new bed. So you have to make sure you have a good quality bed. I have slept in hotels all over the country. I know now so well that I do not sacrifice my sleep by being cheap. I sleep in a good hotel with a good mattress. It makes a difference. Now, environmentally, again, darken the room an hour before bedtime. That helps. Allow your air temperature to get cool. Warmer bedding is very good. Decrease your noise and blue lights. Eliminate TV, computers, and phones, and get your alarm clock out of sight. So you don't want that light from the alarm clock where you can see it or where it shines in your eyes. Now, dietary. There's many recommendations in terms of your dietary helps. So decrease caffeine throughout the day. I had to learn a very painful lesson for me. I'll just share that with you. I got addicted to caffeine, okay? And I didn't play small, okay? I went with the large Mountain Dews, all right? Maximum caffeine and sugar, all right? That stuff fires the hippocampus and the reward centers in your hippocampus stronger than cocaine, just so you know. By the way, I'm not suggesting that you switch to cocaine, okay? I'm not suggesting that. Now, I got addicted to caffeine because I was under a lot of stress. And then what happened was that I started drinking my Mountain Dew, and I had this incredible experience of noticing floaters in my visual field. And then I knew what was happening. The blood vessels in my eyes were starting to rupture, and I was leaking blood cells into my vitreous humor, which is the fluid in your eyeball. And so what I decided to do was do a scientific experiment on me. So I stopped drinking the Mountain Dew. The floaters went away. Then I tested it. I drank some Mountain Dew again. The floaters came back immediately. That's all I needed to know. I was doing it to myself. Caffeine is an alkaloid, in case you didn't know. It's toxic to the human body. It is an excellent pesticide, and it works very well at killing all the snails in your garden, just so you know. So it is very toxic to the human body. Now, decrease your late night snacking, decrease your high sodium, avoid alcohol, increase your water, and decrease your weight if your BMI is high. Here's what we show in the research from Europe. We don't see this in the United States, but Europe showed that consumption of energy drinks lead to a significant increased risk of arrhythmia, which is erratic heartbeats in the heart, and then up to a 500% increased risk of stroke. Caffeine, anyone? Now, alcohol, just so you know, there is no safe level from the scientific perspective. We say that absolutely the truth about alcohol is that it contributes to high blood pressure and many other heart issues, many, many others. So it really is problematic. In a letter to the United States Dietary Guidelines Committee in 2020, the American Medical Association, in a letter to the committee, in one of the paragraphs, this was the paragraph, and they said, alcohol is a known human carcinogen. There is no safe threshold for alcohol and cancer risk. This is directly from the American Medical Association. Did it get placed on CNN? No. It did not hit the news, but it's absolutely the truth. We know from the CDC, in fact, drinking any kind of alcohol can contribute to cancers of all of those areas and more. The equivalent of one bottle of wine is, in women, going to be about 10 cigarettes and 5 cigarettes in men, just one bottle. In addition, it affects the brain, which will affect your sleep. So alcohol, we show in 36,000 brain scans that even one drink can adversely affect your brain and can alter your sleep. So it absolutely causes a problem, even one drink a day. Now, that's what you want to stay away from. What should you do? Well, one of the things that we see is the importance of diet. So the American College of Lifestyle Medicine and many other scientific organizations, including the American Diabetes Association, the American Medical Association, Diabetes Canada, the American Heart Association, American Cancer Society, they all now agree. Eat more unrefined plant foods. Eat more unrefined plant foods. Everybody got the message? So this is what that looks like. Whole foods, as opposed to processed foods, and plant foods as opposed to animal foods. So this is what we recommend. Eat more of these kinds of foods. This is what it looks like. Yes, a plant-based diet may help you sleep better. And we have research on it. Studies have linked plant-based diets to better sleep quality, falling asleep faster, and even reducing the risk of sleep apnea. Wow. If you're on a CPAP machine you'd like to get off, this is good news. More plants equals better sleep. 2020 study in nutrients found that participants who ate more whole plant foods reported better sleep. Plant foods help the brain produce melatonin, a hormone that regulates the sleep-wake cycle. Beans. By the way, the number one food of the blue zones are legumes. Beans, peas, and lentils. Absolutely. So there's over 2,000 varieties. You'll never get bored, so don't worry about it. All right, so beans, study of health professionals found that women who ate more plant protein reported better sleep quality. Each serving of beans consumed per 1,000 calories corresponded to a 55% higher sleep efficiency. Wow, this is recent research. More plants also equals longer sleep. Longer sleep. SleepFoundation.org survey found that vegans and vegetarians sleep 36 minutes more per night on average. Wow. And if you're a raw food diet, raw food plants, you sleep in up to 48 minutes more. Wow, rather substantial. In addition, plant-based diets could slash sleep apnea risk by up to 29% in the research. That's rather substantial. Medications and the CPAP machines will not give us those kinds of results. So here's the invitation. Have your refrigerator look like a garden teeming with life instead of a morgue rotting with death. Okay? So have it look like this. Now, how many of you hate being hungry when you go to bed? How many of you hate being hungry when you go to bed? So there's an impact of a late meal. We see in the research there's many different impacts. If you ate really late, within less than 2 hours of sleep time, it will affect your time of sleep. You'll get less time of sleep. You'll get less REM sleep as well, which is where you need to dream. And you also end up with 10% less recovery. So it absolutely impacts the quality of your sleep. Foods to avoid before bedtime. Number one on the list is caffeine. Absolutely. Because it's a stimulant, it'll keep you awake. It'll do all kinds of things. Heavy meals, we want to stay away from that. Acidic and spicy meals, also, we want to avoid that. Sugar and refined foods, absolutely want to avoid. Alcohol, we've talked about that already. But you don't want to go to bed hungry. How many of you hate going to bed hungry? I know I do. I hate going to bed hungry. How many of you were ever told by your parents, no dinner for you, go to bed? I remember those words. I hated that, okay? Because I got to eat. So we don't want to go to bed hungry. If you're going to eat, there are some foods that can help you to sleep better, but you want to time it as well. Very important. So you want to be able to have foods that have complex carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates are going to be your legumes, your beans, your whole grains, and some fruit. Okay, those are going to be plenty of complex carbohydrates. And even things like a potato, really good. A little bit, but you just want to eat a little bit. Protein-rich foods such as nut butters, and one of my favorites, pistachios. What we show in the research is that pistachios, just 2 pistachios, produce more natural melatonin that affect your brain more naturally than any medication over the counter, much more effectively. Pistachios, 2 pistachios. So very important. So that's food. Another thing that will help you with your sleep is your exercise. So you want to make sure that you're getting routine exercise. So one of my favorite graphics, this is me on the left. What fits your busy schedule better? Exercising for 1 hour a day or being dead for 24 hours a day? What would you rather do, boo-boo? So we show in the research that exercise is so important to the quality of your life. In fact, in a combined research and international study, we show that exercise actually makes you happier than having more money. Fancy that. Fancy that. So by the way, if you own a business, don't give people bonuses. Just take them out for a walk. All right? Now, another thing that really affects the quality of our sleep is our mindset, our thoughts. Remember we talked about the thoughts that we think and how we think? This is critical, and I've dealt with this with so many people for such a long time in helping them with their sleep. So one of my favorite books is from Dr. Carol Dweck, and she wrote a book called Mindset. And I love the book because it corresponds completely with my research in terms of health in the central nervous system. So she showed in her research of over 30 years that when we're in the sympathetic state, for whatever reason, we tend to think in what she calls the fixed mindset, which is a rigid way of thinking. Either you've got it or you don't. You're a winner or a loser. You're a success or a failure. So it's a more rigid type of thinking, and it's consistent with being the sympathetic. It's an all or nothing type of thinking. So when we're in the sympathetic state, we tend to think in a fixed mindset. Now, you can get a lot of things done in a fixed mindset, but it's inherently limiting. When we are in the parasympathetic state, we tend to think in the growth mindset. There is no success or failure in the growth mindset. There's no winning or losing in the growth mindset. It's all about becoming better and learning and growing and expanding. That's the growth mindset. When we're in the fixed mindset, we tend to have conversations with ourselves. In psychology, we call this self-talk. So when we're in the growth mindset, we tend to say things like, over here in the dark gray, failure is the limit of my abilities. I'm either good at it or I'm not. My abilities are unchanging. I can either do it or I can't. I don't like to be challenged. My potential is predetermined. When I'm frustrated, I give up. Feedback and criticism are personal. I stick to what I know. When we're in the parasympathetic state, we tend to say to ourselves conversations that are consistent with the growth mindset in the blue. Failure is an opportunity to grow. I can learn to do anything I want. Challenges help me to grow. My effort and attitude determine my abilities. Feedback is constructive. I am inspired by the success of others. And I like to try new things. Here's my invitation to you. When you get the slides, print this frame out, enlarge it, and put it where you can see it prominently every day. And catch yourself and where you're saying things to yourself. It is so powerful that just reading this every day will start to help you shift your fixed mindset self-talk to a growth mindset fixed self-talk. Powerful. Another thing that really helps us in the quality of our sleep is where we are living in terms of our mindset. There are 3 times that we could possibly be focusing our attention, either in the past, in the present, or in the future. Most people, most of the time, especially when they have problems with their sleep, are not living in the present. They're living either in the past or they're projecting their past and worrying about the future. This is so common. So when you're living in the past, you experience guilt, shame, and regret, feeling sad or depressed, dwelling on what happened, replaying events or conversations, and overanalyzing. When you're living in the future, you experience a fear of the unknown, worrying about what could happen, feeling anxious for what is to come or could come, overthinking what if scenarios, and thinking worst case scenarios. If you're living in the past or living in the future or both, that will keep you up at night. To really be able to empower yourself to have great quality of sleep, we have to focus on living in the present. And this is where you experience clarity, acceptance of what is, of yourself, of others, and circumstances. Really embracing a joy of being a human being. Understanding, seeking first to understand the situations and circumstances and the challenges you face, and really striving for inner peace and practicing gratitude. There's a gratitude prayer that I wrote. I'll send it to you. And the first line is, thank you, God, for everything. For everything indeed is a blessing. Powerful to live into that. If we have mental anguish, that will keep us up at night. But as one of my favorite teachers, Dan Millman, said, is life is not suffering. It's not suffering, it's just that you will suffer it rather than enjoy it until you let go of your mind's attachments and just go for the ride freely, no matter what happens. So one of my favorite teachers, Dr. Wayne Dyer. How many of you have heard of Dr. Wayne Dyer before? Wonderful teacher. I got to see him before he passed away in 2015. And he said, to be able to live life freely, without any attachments, all you have to do is remember a song. And chances are you already know this song. I'm willing to bet that you do. And all you have to do is sing the song, but you have to know the meaning of the lyrics. So I'm going to go through this song with you and explain the lyrics, but I'm willing to bet you know the song. And then we're going to all sing it together. So here's the song. It goes like this. Row, row, row your boat, not somebody else's boat. Don't jump into somebody else's boat and don't let anybody else jump into yours. Row only your boat. Row gently, peacefully, calmly, down the stream, not up against the current, not into the waterfalls, not into the rocks, not into the rapids. No, row gently down the stream with the current of life. And remember to do this merrily, joyfully, gratefully, enjoying the beautiful scenery of this river of life and all the surroundings. And remember that your life is but a dream that you get to create. Now you know the real meaning of that amazing song. So let's all sing it together. Ready? Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily. Life is but a dream. My goodness, you must be in the choir. Wonderful. Now, you'll never forget that song. And what we have to remember is that what gets in the way of our sleep and the quality of our life is our attachments. We suffer when we hold on to how we think life should be. One of my favorite books by Don Miguel Ruiz Jr., he wrote this book, The 5 Levels of Attachment. So I'm going to recommend you read it. It is fabulous. And what we need to strive for is, number one, the first level, which is authentic life. To live authentic life means to live with no attachments. No attachments. So your homework assignment, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to strive to live a life of no attachments. and accepting life as it comes to you, rowing your boat gently down the stream. Now, of all the beliefs to detach from, he says that the most important one is to let go of the attachment that you must obtain some image of perfection in order to be happy. Wow. There's a few of us, and we know who we are. We love perfectionism, don't we? We love everything being just so. That is an illusion. There's no such thing as perfection. As Sister Mary Lenore taught me a long time ago at St. Matthias Elementary School, she was the headmaster of the school in 8th grade. She said, "You will never be perfect until you are in a box 6 foot under. Then you'll be perfect." Never forgot that. Now, when it comes to stress, there are many things to help us to improve how we respond to stress. Now, there's some tools to help you with this. One is listening to music that is at 60 beats per minute. It's very soothing to have that. I'm going to send you some videos and some music so that you can actually listen to this. Now, it's very important, the recommendations is to stop working at least 90 minutes before you go to bed, your intended bedtime. So if you're going to go to bed at 10 o'clock, then you stop working by 8:30. That's it. You're done. You close up shop. There is a whole course that I'm going to send you called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction, a free course, 8-week course. I'm going to send it to you for free so you can actually start that. It's really wonderful. Meditation or controlled breathing is fabulous. It's a wonderful, wonderful exercise. Lots of exercises to do in this. But I'm going to share with you today one very powerful tip, one major tip. And it's based on the science that was done by Dr. Andrew Huberman, who is a neuroscientist. Now, what we show in the research is that we as human beings, we sleep, and when while we're breathing, while we're sleeping, we have this interesting pattern. Every now and then, what we do is we'll breathe in a normal rhythm. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And then every once in a while, we'll do this. We'll inhale, pause, inhale more deeply, and long exhale. And then we go back to the regular breathing cycle again. Now, we've known this for a long time, that we do this physiologically to re-regulate our CO2 and oxygen levels. That's what we do. Our oxygen levels start to go down, our CO2 levels start to go up, and then we do this physiological sigh, and we restore the oxygen and CO2 levels. And then we keep doing this pattern all through the time that we're sleeping. We do this all the time. Now, we don't notice it because we're asleep. If you watch your dogs and cats, watch them because they do this. They're a good experiment for you. Now, what Dr. Huberman showed, that is when we practice this pattern of breathing consciously, not only does it re-regulate the oxygen and CO2 levels, but it also is the fastest way to move the body's central nervous system state from sympathetic to parasympathetic faster than anything we've ever seen. Wow. How many of you like to move from sympathetic to parasympathetic in 30 seconds or less? How many of you like to be able to do that? All right, let's do it right now. Okay, sit comfortably. Relax. On the count of 3, everybody inhale together. 1, 2, 3. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And now inhale. Pause. Inhale deeply. Long exhale. Regular breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And now inhale. Pause. Inhale deeply. Long exhale. How does that feel? Isn't that wonderful? It's that quick. It's extraordinary. If you have trouble sleeping, practice this. If you're ever stressed, practice this. It's a wonderful practice. It's really a great practice. Now, in addition, there is something what we call cognitive behavioral therapy. And so there's many different apps for that. So I'm going to send you the information on this. They're internet-based CBT online, so you can tap into those. Another thing that we show in the research in lifestyle medicine is the practices of happiness. If you elevate your happiness, you elevate your quality of your life. Therefore, you sleep better because you're more in the parasympathetic state. So one wonderful teacher on this is Ray Chambers, and he says there are 5 keys. And I'm going to send you the interview that Oprah Winfrey had with one of his students, who is the CEO of LinkedIn, and so Jeff Weiner. So number 1, live in the moment, live in the present. Number 2, it's better to be loving than to be right. Number 3, be a spectator of your own thoughts, especially when you become emotional. What are you attached to? Number 4, be grateful for at least one thing every single day. All of us are blessed, are we not? We all are. We all have such incredible lives. So be grateful for at least one new thing a day. And then help others every chance you get. Every chance you get. Be of service. Now, I've been teaching this tip for a long time, and that is this. Put a notebook on your bedstand at night, a journal. And before going to bed, record 5 new things, unique things that you are grateful for from that day. This, I promise you, if you have insomnia or difficulty going to sleep, this works 98% of the time. Absolutely. It's phenomenal. Do not repeat any item from any previous day. I have a friend of mine who has journals going back 30 years, has not repeated a single item. Extraordinary life. And she's thoroughly happy as a human being. Absolutely amazing. So your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to journal 5 new things that you are grateful for each day. And the flip side of the coin is eliminate complaining about anything, and I mean anything, for 30 days in a row. One of my favorite ministers, Edwin Gaines, taught me this one, changed my life. Changed my life. Now, if you get to day 29 and complain, you have to start over. And some of you have to start over right now. So the thing is, it will change your life. It really will. And there are 2 levels of the game. First level is what you complain about externally, any expression. That's a complaint. The second level of the game is any complaining thought. Play the game. I promise you it will make a huge difference in the quality of your life in every regard. So I've given you a lot of practices to get started on today, have I not? Absolutely. I'll answer questions in just a minute, but we covered a lot of things today. A lot of things, and I'm going to send you a follow-up email. Please make sure that yellow card is filled out with your name and email address. Now, here's what I recommend, and this is what we say in lifestyle medicine. It's not about being perfect. Remember, perfection is an illusion. It's all about making progress. Pick 1 or 2 things that you can improve for you that will make the biggest difference for you, and start there. It's about progress. It's not about being perfect. There's no such thing. Just make progress. Pick 1 or 2 things that you can sink your teeth into. Now, how many of you would like to make the rest of your life the best of your life? How many of you would like to do that? Okay? So imagine, what would that look like for you? Einstein said imagination is more important than knowledge. Imagination is the preview of life's coming attractions. So would you be wanting to live a life of vitality and energy and enthusiasm and energy? Would you like to be dancing on the beaches with your partner and enjoying great fun and health and vitality? I hope so. But the question is, where are you now? Are you there yet? Chances are you're not. So how will you get from where you are now to where you would like to be? Well, just like anything in life, you need a plan. You need a plan. But do you have a plan that's actually proven to work? Most people do not. And this is why most people struggle with trying to change their health. They take on a New Year's resolution. They go to the gym to try to get fit, get healthy, and lose weight. And then 6 weeks later, 95% of the people that took out a gym membership are nowhere to be seen. Isn't that interesting? You need a plan that's proven to work. I have a plan, and I'm living proof, because 30 and a half years ago, I was 55 pounds heavier than you see me today. Yes. I had high blood pressure, 170 over 110. I had high cholesterol, 270. I had high blood sugar, 128, pre-diabetic. 4 years earlier, I had ruptured my Achilles tendon, snapped it completely off, had emergency surgery the next day. The doctor, who was a friend of mine, told me I would never play basketball again, and I would be lucky if I could walk normally again. That devastated me. So I proceeded to do what every hardworking, responsible, intelligent, depressed person does when they are depressed, which would be what? Thank you. You are my friends. Yes. But what kind of food does a depressed person eat when they are depressed? Yes, all of the above. All of it. I did it all. And I started working in hospital administration at Kaiser right after I ruptured my Achilles. And I kid you not, I would leave my office at 5 o'clock, head up to the gift shop, and get my fix for the afternoon. It wasn't a real injection, but it might as well have been, because it was the large Mountain Dew, the king-size bag of M&Ms, the 6 Oreo cookies, and the large 3 Musketeers bar every afternoon. And the rest of my diet, not much better. So in the course of 4 years, what happened to me? I blew up. Until one day, I'm sitting at the table about to watch my swimmers swim in a meet in January of 1995. And my friend, Mike, an Olympic swimming coach who knew me, and he'd seen me when I was healthy and fit, and he saunters over to me, looks at me kind of quizzically, puts his hands on the table and says, "Getting a little chubby there, Ruben." Turns and walks away. And mind you, I had a buttermilk donut in my hand. And I wanted to throw it at him, but I didn't want to waste the donut. And if you can feel me on that one, you really are, my friend. I had to deal with the man in the mirror the next morning. And I realized I had done this to myself. It wasn't my mom, it wasn't my dad, it wasn't my ex-wife. No, it was me. I had to own this. One of my favorite teachers, John Maxwell, says, the moment of maturity in a person's life is when you can say, I am completely responsible for my health, my happiness, and my life. And so I started to do what I knew I needed to do. And I started to execute my 4-point plan. I had been an athlete. I had been in shape. So my plan is mapped out in my book that's coming out, How to Fully Live. Number 1, we must begin from within, because it's always going to start here. If we don't address our mindset, our thinking, our attitude, our consciousness and awareness, the game is done. It's over. We have to start here. Second, we need a proven strategy that's going to actually work based on evidence. Third, we need consistency. We need to develop those habits. In psychology, we say habits produce results. And then fourth, we need community. We need that support and accountability. No kidding. None of us can do it by ourselves. So that's my approach, and it works. And I've been teaching this for many, many, many years, since 1995. I also do lifestyle medicine consultations for people. in July, when we finish this series, I'll be ready to launch my How to Fully Live Lifestyle Medicine 12-week coaching program. So that's coming. That's coming. It's going to be exciting based on the book. One of my graduates, just to show you, a retired nurse, Donna, who's just absolutely amazing. When she came into my program in April of 2018, she said, Ruben, I've been on a plant-based diet for 9 years already. I've lost about 50 pounds, 60 pounds, but I still have issues. I got arrhythmia, I've got high blood pressure, I've got edema, I've got pain in my knees, I've got some issues. And I said, come into the program, we'll work on changing your lifestyle. And Donna, who's just an amazing human being, she really worked on changing everything in her lifestyle and fine-tuned every aspect of her life. And there are the pictures. And a year and a half later, she was 70 pounds lighter. And when COVID hit, did that stop her? No. She posted on Facebook every day. She had created her own community, a walking club, and they went walking every day, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 miles a day. Every day. And then in 2021, on Thanksgiving Day here in Sacramento, she did the Roseville Turkey Trot, a 10K. At the age of 69, she could hardly walk when I met her. She did it in 1 hour and 41 minutes at the age of 69. And then 2 weeks later, she did the California International Marathon at the age of 69. So that's just one of my graduates. And then I also do lifestyle medicine and performance medicine in the workplace. Here's my contact information, but I want to finish with this quote before I open it up for questions. Life, one of my favorite quotes, life is not a journey to the grave with the intention to arrive safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to skid in broadside, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and loudly proclaiming, wow, what a ride. By the way, that's my son number 3 surfing there. All right, questions? Yes, Pedro. Oh, there's a microphone. There's a microphone. Okay, questions. Yes, please do.
You mentioned coffee.
Yes.
So if you can't do the caffeine, is the mushroom option something worth exploring?
Yeah, there's mushroom coffees, mushroom-based. There's Ticino, and there's other kinds as well. So there's many different varieties that you can use as a substitute, and they're wonderful. So there's herbal coffees, and there are many different kinds that can work really well. So very good. Yes.
Another
question
about caffeine. Why do you have the coffee after the meal, breakfast in the morning?
Well, so what happens is that when you have caffeine early, especially a lot of people, they don't drink water and they have caffeine first. They say, I can't start my day until I have my coffee. How many of you know that one? Okay, so they drink the coffee first. The potency of the caffeine and how it affects the brain and the rest of the organs is so much more deleterious when you have it right out of the gate, as opposed to when you have food in your system. So it makes a huge difference on the impact. It's sort of like the impact of what happens when you drink alcohol without any food in your gut. Same effect. Okay, next question. Bring it on. Yes, Ted.
The effects of this process as we're getting older, I forget my keys, I forget my thing. I haven't forgotten my wife yet. But I'm struggling to remember. I'm getting worse, and since I've been doing it, I've been remembering old jokes. So
yeah,
it's improving. It basically I started going down. It put me on the plateau and bringing me up slightly. How's that process with this, with what we're doing to helping the mindset to remember?
Yeah, very good. So since you've been starting on a plant-based diet and changing your lifestyle, by the way, Ted's working with me. He's kind of, okay, I didn't pay him to be here, okay? He's been doing fabulous. He's been doing fabulous because, I mean, Ted's been diagnosed with some decline in his cognitive awareness. And so we've been working on changing his lifestyle. And he's been a really great student. And his wife, Joan, has been helping so much with the food and the lifestyle and everything else. And what's been happening with Ted is because of all the things that we talked about today, all the factors, this comprehensive approach, his brain is starting to function better. The brain is an organ just like any other. And so what happens is that the sleep gets better, your brain starts to function better. And here's the other exciting news. I'm going to send you the video of this from Dr. Health-3-8. There is a part of the brain called the hippocampus that I mentioned earlier. We have research. Neuroscience actually shows that when you engage in all these lifestyle factors, your hippocampus actually can produce up to about 700 new brain cells per day. It's called neurogenesis. So we actually know that we can start to restore the neurological connections in the brain. Thank you for that.
I just want to take one more second.
Okay, sure.
Is that I spent 3 tours in Vietnam.
Yeah.
28 people, my friends, were killed. Now, there's 13 others that I met. We went out, we were friends, they came back. They all died from Agent Orange cancer.
Yeah.
My wife started this same diet basically prior to meeting Ruben, and I'm the only one that went into remission.
Yeah.
12 years ago, I went into remission, and I'm the only one.
It works. Thank you, Ted. Thank you. Thank you. Next question.
It looked like you had a question.
No? Okay. Struck in there.
I thought you raised your hand.
Okay. Questions. Anything at all. Anything. Yes, back there. We got a couple there.
Sorry, we just want to be able to hear you.
I just wanted to make sure that I know how to access the streaming of this program.
So next time what we'll do, I will post the link in the meetup page and also in the Facebook and all my postings. I will make sure the link is there. I didn't get it until late this afternoon.
Will this meeting be streamed?
It's
being streamed right now,
yeah,
and it'll be on our YouTube page.
yeah,
Pass it on.
yeah. So we'll get you all that access too. In the follow-up email, we'll give you the information for that. Yeah. Question.
I have a question about sleeping and menopause. It's a
Great.
bit of a mess.
Yes. Yes. So what's your question about it?
What do we do?
Yeah. So it's a great question. So this is where you want to look at everything that we've talked about in terms of lifestyle approach. In addition, I'll recommend another book for you. So you want to write this one down. It's called Your Body in Balance. Your Body in Balance by Dr. Neil Barnard. And he talks about the hormonal disruptions for women in particular. So that book's for you. Okay, so it's an excellent book, and it's going to talk about all the aspects of diet and lifestyle that relate to menopause and the disruptions that occur. But we also show that when women who are going through menopause, that if they're on a plant-based diet, they absolutely do better, and all the other lifestyle factors make a difference for the quality of their sleep as well. So it makes a difference. Thank you for that. Dr. Neil, Neal, Barnard is Barnard. Petra, you got a question here? She had her hand. She raised her hand.
First of all, I had a question that you answered,
Okay.
and that was, is it okay to eat a little something before bed?
Mm-hmm.
And you answered that very well. And so my understanding is, and this is my question, was I taught correctly, that when you go to bed on an empty stomach, your brain wants glucose from plants predominantly. If it can't get it from plants, then maybe you'll have sugar cravings or
Right.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go to bed hungry, at some point your brain is hungry and it shoots adrenaline into your body to bring sugar from your muscle into your bloodstream, and it kind of wakes you up. It brings you out of deep sleep, and it kind of brings you, might fully wake you up or bring you up out of your deep sleep
Yeah.
over and over and over again throughout the night, preventing you from getting the true healing. So did I understand you to say like as few as even 2 pistachios before bed, like a couple of, even an hour or 2 before bed should be enough?
Okay, you're presenting 2 situations there.
Okay.
So one is that if you've got a deficit of calories in your system, that you're not having, if you don't have satiety in your stomach. So if you don't have satiety, then that's putting your brain in the sympathetic state. So now what happens? You go to bed and you're hungry. Your brain is in a sympathetic state while you're going to bed. So that starts that vicious cycle of I'm hungry, I need food, and it disrupts the process of sleep. So that's why you end up waking up repeatedly. So that's one scenario. Now, the other thing is, so we don't want to go to bed hungry. You want to have enough in your stomach that you're calm, that you're at peace. Just like a baby, all right? A baby will drink enough mother's milk to feel satisfied, and then it's going to bed. It's going to take a nap. So it's going to do that. So we want to make sure that we're satisfied in our system. So that's one. Now, the second aspect is for being able to handle sleep disruptions. A couple of pistachios may not give you enough satiety, but it can help you to induce the melatonin cycle in your brain. I recommend the pistachios particularly for people who travel across time zones. I travel with pistachios in my suitcase. So about an hour before I want to go to bed, I'll have those 2 pistachios, and then that way the melatonin starts to kick in by the time I'm ready to go to bed. So that's the hack of the pistachios. But having nut butter or pistachios can also be a help, but you want to have enough food that you're not hungry. So 2 pistachios probably is not enough if you're hungry. It's not enough for me. Okay, great question, great question. Who else? Who else? Yes, over here.
You mentioned hydration a few
Yes.
times, but everywhere I look, there's different amounts that you should have. So what would be the best amount of water per day?
Okay, great question. So it depends on you. Everybody's a little bit different. So there is no one rule. There's a lot of research on this. So the most important time to rehydrate is right when you wake up. So the first thing you want to do soon after you wake up, within just a short period of time, you want to be able to drink a fair amount of water. Now, I recommend at least 16 ounces to start off. If you can do more, great. I do 32 ounces because it feels good for me. And it took me a while to get there. I started off with 16 ounces, but now I get up to 32 ounces, and it feels really good to do that. So everybody's a little bit different. Now, I usually recommend that people strive to get close to 96 ounces a day. Now, it's not that hard to do if you break it up over the course of the day. If you have 16 ounces first thing in the morning, and then what we show in the research is that if you have 16 ounces either before, during, or after a meal, that's also very helpful. So that's 3 times doing 16 ounces during your meals. And then do 16 ounces before a workout, because you should exercise every day. And then do 16 ounces after you work out, because you want to recover the water that you've eliminated from respiration. That'll get you to 96 ounces. So it's a simple pattern. The way to do this is approach it by anchoring your water habit on other habits, other things that you do. And if you do that, it works. So that can help. Now, some research says optimal health benefits are at about 128 ounces, which is a full gallon. Don't be alarmed. Athletes drink at least a gallon of water a day very commonly. It's not hard to do because they're doing the same thing. They're drinking water all day long. So it's not alarming. It sounds alarming to a lot of people if you're only drinking, a lot of people I've known only drink 16 ounces a day. which is far too little. So you want to have a lot of water. So as much as you can. Now, if you notice yourself going to the bathroom every 30 minutes, you're taking on too much. Back off. But if you're going to the bathroom every hour to every hour and a half, that's a good rate of hydration. That's your body telling you you're getting enough. And your urine should be pale yellow to clear. That's how you know you're getting enough water. So good question, really good. Who else? Yes, Joan. Right behind you there.
I get up to pee a number of times a night, but I'm getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep, let's say on total, according to my watch. Is that still restorative, even though I keep having to get up so many times?
Yeah, so a couple of things with that. You're still getting restoration because your brain's doing the work. Because if you're going right back to sleep, I'm presuming that you're going right back to sleep, then that's still working for you. You may want to back off a little bit on drinking your water later in the day and try to drink more of your water earlier in the day. That can usually help. So you want to play around with that and see what works for you.
Along the same lines,
Yes.
doing this, keeping my consistency up, to doing all of this, it is a process in doing it, which I'm reaping the benefits, but as the benefits are coming, the need in my mind seems to be less, and I need to re-motivate myself all the time to keep that up, as I have tons of priorities in my life to keeping that up on top. How do you maintain the consistency and the focus?
Right. Well, this is where that four-prong approach, this four-part plan. So it's about being able to incorporate all four pieces. Number one is to be able to address your mindset, your thinking, your attitude, consciousness, and awareness. So this means we have to practice rewiring the subconscious mind on a daily basis. So there's daily work to be done, affirmations, prayer, meditation. Those things have to be daily practices to help us to keep our mindset in the game. Second, we need to be practicing those lifestyle medicine, evidence-based practices. So you've learned a lot of those, but you got to be engaged in the habits. That's the third part, is making sure that your habits are solid and that you're tracking your habits so that you actually hold yourself accountable to those habits. And then the fourth part is community and support, because none of us can do it by ourselves. So we have to surround ourselves with those relationships that actually love and support us and hold us accountable. We need all of that, and it's all four. So it's not just one thing. There's no quick shortcut. I'm sorry. Sorry. It takes work. Yes. Okay, great.
I was wondering, I didn't hear anything about fasting. Do you, well, my question is basically around when I go and do a lab work, you have to be fasting. But just in the maybe past 2-3 years, then it's not recommended anymore for whatever reason. I don't know. I haven't really looked into it. But I would like to know how you feel about fasting.
Okay, very good question. So there's a couple aspects of what you just brought up. One is fasting for blood work. So it depends on the blood work, that depending on whether you're doing certain studies, that you may need to be doing fasting for blood work to get the right values, the correct values. So we need to be able to do that. So that's lab work. So that's completely different. And that depends on the studies. And they've looked at certain studies, and some of them you don't need to be fasting for, some of them you do. Now, in terms of fasting for your health, there's a lot of interest lately, these last several years, on the notion of intermittent fasting. Have you heard of that? Okay, so what we recommend in the research is not to do that. In lifestyle medicine, we recommend not to engage in intermittent fasting. Now, intermittent fasting is popular. Here's why. People get results and lose weight quickly. There are lots of gimmicks out there on how to lose weight. Everybody wants to lose weight, and they want to lose it right away. In fact, the quicker I can lose it, the better. I have a guaranteed program for being able to lose 20 pounds in 2 weeks. Guaranteed, absolutely guaranteed program. In August, I will take you to Death Valley. I will set you up with a pup tent and 10 gallons of water. You'll be stranded there in 125-degree temperature for 2 straight weeks. No distractions. You'll be very peaceful. You'll be all alone with the coyotes and the tarantulas. And you will lose 20 pounds in 2 weeks, guaranteed. And that's a $500,000 program. Thank you very much. Now, the thing is, there are a lot of gimmicks on how to lose weight. I have heard and seen so many. That doesn't work, and here's why. Because when you put your body in a fasting state, the moment you put your body in a fasting state, do you think your body, your brain is happy? No, it's in the sympathetic state. So what happens in the sympathetic state? Yes, you will lose raw weight. You'll lose muscle and you'll lose water. The scale will go down. But your body is now wired that the next time you eat, you're going to store, and we have the research on this, you will store a higher percentage of anything you eat as fat, because fat is the ultimate survival fuel. And we have the research in rats, we have it in athletes, we show this very clearly. So when you do intermittent fasting, a lot of people say, oh, I lost the weight, I feel great. Psychologically, yes. Physiologically, no. It is not sustainable, it's not a long-term solution. It keeps your body in the sympathetic state, which then absolutely promotes chronic disease. There you go. Next.
All right.
Okay.
I think this is going to disrupt my 8 hours of sleep if we don't close it up soon.
Yeah, very good. Last question. Who will ask the last question? Going once? Going twice. Soul to sleep for better sleep for all of you. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure your cards are filled out. I'll come around and collect them.
Also, on your way out, you can take an invitation to bring somebody next time we meet. It has information on all of the 10 sessions that you can share with somebody else.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.